Hello everyone, welcome back to Rachel's Studio, and in today's tutorial we're going to do some fun, easy, creative Christmas trees. And these are a great way to warm up before you paint a more serious painting. They're also great for greeting cards because they're pretty fast, and I think they really get the creative juices flowing because I really tried to do something totally new with almost each and every one of them. Totally new techniques. For example, you're going to see me use my octopus brush, which I featured in a hacks video forever ago, and I'll explain what the heck an octopus brush is and the really lovely effects you can get with that. So stay tuned for that, and let's paint 4 different Christmas trees. Well, 3 trees and 1 wreath. All right, so I painted all these yesterday and I love them, and all the footage was blurry, so I want to do them again. And I think I'm going to use my size 12 long Princeton Aqua Elite, and because this is a synthetic brush, the brush has more snap, meaning if you bend it, it goes right back. And what that translates to is when you're painting, the brush goes exactly where you want it to, instead of it flopping and then kind of dragging over the paper. And I'm going to try a variety of papers. This is soft press. This is a hot press. So it'll be fun to just try some different things. And you can learn a lot about how to make a watercolor look good by painting Christmas trees or observing what makes these trees look good. For example, this one has more than one color. It's not all medium value. It has a dark, it has some lights, it has some mediums. It's got splashes of red that are complementary to the greens. It's got little splatters to give it texture. It has connection to the background here. It has more than one kind of brush stroke. It has these swishy ones, and then these dry brush, and then wet. The colors you use aren't nearly as important as the values, but I like my 10 watercolor paints. I rarely use any but these 10. And I've got a whole video on my 10 favorite watercolor paints about these paints, so be sure to go check out my watercolor basics playlist to see that. I'm gonna get the tip of my brush wet and pick up some Winsor Green Gold. I like to paint in the middle of the tree to start me off. Get a little too puddly, you can always dab out your brush. And I'm going to try to get some calligraphic marks in here. And get some more blue for some darks. As we go down, I assume the tree gets darker, it's in more shadow. And even more darks. I'm going to put some drips of clear water here and there. I like to do a little connection to the ground. I'm going to put even more darks down in the bottom with some blue and just float it in. And maybe float in a little bit of Daniel Smith Permanent Green Light. For some variety. So then we're going to let that dry, and we can go in if we decide we want to. Actually, let's put some splashies for that added zing of texture that we love. Maybe that's snow. Don't forget a little bit of salt. This is kosher salt, and you don't want a lot. This is plenty, most likely. And it does work better if you get it onto buckling paper and not super glistening, super wet. So this is actually a perfect time to put it in. And also a few splats of clean, clear water can really make some textures come out. I see some texture coming out right here. I like it. Play that up by putting a few dots of clean, clear water and see if that'll texture out for us. I'm gonna lay that somewhere really flat, about here. Now, some little swirlies like that. Oop. No, that's still wet. I really want bigger splashes here. There we go. All right, I made a mess. I'm gonna try with a different brush now. I am going to try, let's see what this one does. This is so pretty. I bought this after being seduced by an Instagram account that was featuring these. They sell these, Fibonacci. Let's try this. This has pretty good snap, actually. That might be interesting. For a wreath, and again, this is Fabriano's soft press. It's kind of a combination between cold and hot press. You know what I could do? I could cheat to guide my perfect circle. And it doesn't have to be dark, so I'm just gonna paint with tea consistency paint. If you don't know the difference between tea, milk, and cream consistency paint, check out my playlist. I have a whole video about tea, milk, and cream consistency paint. And this doesn't have to be perfect, it's just gonna be a guide for a circle. There, that's good. Let's try this. You can just get some junk on your palette. If you've got a bunch of green and yellow junk, why not? Not getting as much on this good control here. What if I, yeah, that's an ugly line too. That's okay though. I'm gonna get some Windsor green gold, or permanent green light. It's so fun with watercolor. Every single outcome is going to be different based on what supplies you use, what paper you use, what brush you use. I like that. It's a little bit out of control. And painting perfect swirls like this takes some muscle memory. So it's like, if you're trying to paint this, I would say paint this 10 times. It'll come out different every time. But you can even go in and kind of refine some things. I like to splat some clean, clear water to make it even dreamier looking. And then I'm gonna go in and splat some cobalt. And then I think this would be really pretty with some little berries maybe. Should we paint some little berries with a smaller brush? Have some bleed into it. I'm gonna get my size 2 silver black velvet round dots of berries. And even little stars, why not? Maybe that messed it up. I love how the swirls come out, but I'm not crazy about the little red things. All right, I'm using a silver black velvet striper brush, and this is one of the first times I've used it, and thank you so much to Jerry Punt, who is one of my Patreon students who sent this brush to me, and I really had fun with it. And what I loved as I painted with it is if I held it just right, it kind of flicked at the end of my brush stroke, and I just thought that was the coolest little effect. And this particular tree is going to have a really cool surprise at the end, the way that I form the branches, so definitely keep watching. But I was using more blocky brush strokes, using different brush strokes than what you would think of with a tree, which are long, thin, narrow, diagonal strokes, and more kind of blocks of colors. And I'm just using a variety of colors: Windsor green gold, Daniel Smith permanent green light, French ultramarine, cobalt blue. And then often towards the bottom of the tree, I like to get it dark, so that's what you see me doing here. And remember, the less water you mix into your paint, the darker the paint stroke will dry. And I think it's good to have trees with lights, mediums, and darks. So I'm trying to really vary my strokes and have a lot of variety. Here I'm going to get some burnt sienna and just create a little bit of a tree trunk. And then look at this. This is so cool. You could do so many things with this blowing idea with a little straw. And I was making a point when I painted this to make the little bits of paint color really puddly. And this is why, because I knew I wanted to blow them with a straw. So you want to make kind of puddles as you paint this, and then you can blow them out and make really interesting branch effects. Getting my M-gram naphthol red and just trying to keep it really simple. These are not complex trees, so I want the ornaments to match the style. So just putting in some real casual ornaments there, real casual star for the top of the tree. I'm going to try something else now. This is my octopus brush. I talked about it in one of my hacks videos. I create it by taking an old brush that's really crappy and putting masking on it and spreading out the legs like octopus legs. It creates this little effect. Try it. What if we make like a scribble tree? All right, so this first one's going to be a failure, and that's the whole point. You've got to have some failures and then see the possibilities and then go from there, because the next tree that I make is going to be a lot better. But I had to start here. Kind of fun. Kind of bold. You can use different pressures. So when you're experimenting, allow yourself to make mistakes. That looks like a big old hot mess, but you can see it has possibilities though, right? Let's try something else. You want to allow yourself to make mistakes, because then this is just try number 2. I tried another approach with my octopus brush, and it's going to come out a lot better. I mean, look at that texture. What? What if we... Look, oh my god. I mean, look at how cool it splatters. You just don't have things sitting around. Let's move this stuff. Octopus brush. Boom. Multiple strokes to get a thicker feel. And then I'm going to go in with some water. Just pure water for a lighter area. Because I feel like you need that. You can even go over half dry areas to get more texture. I mean, look how cool that is. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then you can really make fling some water like this, look. I mean, to really give it, look, there's energy. It's like, I feel like some people are like, why are you splattering? Well, it's like with art, you can make things seen that are unseen in the real world, which is energy. This tree has amazing energy. You can't see it with the naked eye, but you can see it in art. And that's what that is. I mean, that's just so cool about art. Don't get me started. Oh my gosh, this tree makes me so happy. And what would make me even happier is to see some of y'all do it and really enjoy this. That's what would make me so happy. So please go post on my Facebook group if you play with this idea. All right, I'm gonna put some little branches in it. You can even put a little bit of salt in it to see if it'll texture out a little in the most wet areas. And then when it's half dry, another thing I love to do to continue to get more watercolor effects is just to splash it with a little water. Okay, before this dries, I want to show you something else you can do to get more texture. If you think there's too much of a straight line, you can just kind of drag, and that'll create kind of more of a natural effect too. So you can dot at stuff, and that'll give it like a more natural texture in places. Just don't overdo it. I don't think you want to overdo it, but. All right, I'm just gonna put a few little ornaments on And again, I'm keeping them really loose and whimsical, not making them obviously detailed because I want it to match the style of this tree. And I'm just using a size 0 or maybe a 2 round, just a smaller brush. And then when it's still wet, I drop in thicker paint to get the little ornaments darker. I keep this star really loose too. Right, I let it completely dry and I felt like it looked a little busy and I wanted to play with my scrubber. So I'm going to go in with a stiff scrubber, and you're not going to be able to use this scrubber unless you use really good paper. And I had some pencil marks on here too that I wanted to get rid of. All right, I'm going to use my scrubber and just loosen up some of this. And I'll have a little blotting tissue at hand. And that's a way to just kind of get things looking a little more dreamy, but you don't want to overdo it. And I think we have a very nice little Christmas tree now. Another thing I could do, just to keep putzing with it, let's get some gram naphthol red, about milk consistency on my size 6 round, and just punch up these ornaments just a little, right? You don't want to paint on wet paper with this for most. Thank you so much for joining me for these really fun Christmas trees. They were so fun and they really got my creative juices flowing. It's a great way to warm up. I highly encourage playing with paintings like this. And please come post on my Facebook group. I want to see what y'all come up with, whether you just paint these ideas or you expand on my ideas. Are you going to try an octopus brush? I want to know. So come say hi over on my Facebook group. I'll leave a link below, and I will also link to my Patreon. Please subscribe, like this video, leave me comments. So thank you so much for tuning in. Consider joining my Patreon, and I would love to see you there too. Now go watercolor your world. Happy holidays, you all, and I hope you are blessed. See you next time. Bye.